Hello, world. Welcome to a very special Masters edition of Golf Subpar. Colt Knost, Drew Stoltz, and we got a very special guest, someone that actually knows what he's talking about, gambling expert Brady Kannon from the ViSN Network. How we doing, Brady?
We're doing great. Thanks for having me, man. The beautiful Circa property and starting off Masters week with a bang.
Oh, I cannot wait to get this thing started. It's going to be incredible. Sleaze, how we doing?
Feeling great, feeling alive, feeling woke here in Las Vegas. What better place to talk to Brady about this thing? A lot to get into. We got the Chirp App coming back. U.S. Open, we're getting into a little more Chirp stuff, some great prizes being given away, but being that we got a guy here that knows actually what he's talking about, we got to get into some favorites, we got to get into some long shots, we got to get into everything that you like about the Masters in terms of betting-wise. So let's go ahead and launch it, and we'll get into some of the prizes and things like that.
You mentioned the Chirp App. We did this during the U.S. Open. It's back again. A lot of live betting. You've actually spent some time on Chirp. What are your thoughts?
I really like it, and I'll be honest with you, I think this is where the future of golf betting is going. I mean, we have our traditional, odds board right here behind us in the sports book with the head-to-head matchups and will he make the cut and that type of thing. But the Chirp is taking it to the next step, which I think golf betting is headed towards, where you mentioned it, Drew, off air, that, you can bet, will this guy make this 12-foot putt, and he's plus 200 to make it, and they're betting on every single shot. Will he hit the fairway? And I've always done that with my buddies watching the Masters or something. Hey, I got a buck that he says he misses this fairway. Well, now Chirp's turned it into real live betting. So
yeah, I feel like the Masters is one of those ones where everyone sits down and they watch every single shot.
Right.
So this is such a perfect opportunity to get amongst it, as we like to say. I mean, you can bet a lot of different shots, a lot of live betting, win some incredible prizes. It's going to be a perfect weekend.
Yeah, there's no better way. After you do this a few times, I've found, like, when you get constant action every single hole, will he hit the fairway? Will he make this putt? It's like, I don't even want to get up to go to the bathroom because I'm like, dude, I'm going to miss some bets. I got to see where his putt, I got to know if I'm going to bet yes or no or things like that. But I'm glad to hear you say that you think this is the future of betting, because, like, for us degenerates that like to sit there and watch golf and we need some action, I don't want to wait 18 holes to see, like, did my matchup win? I want to be every hole, and I'm glad to hear you say that you think this is the future, because it's fun, that's for sure.
And Brady, we've had you on our SiriusXM show many a times. You're awesome. You have great info. But how excited are you to have 2 Masters in 5 months?
Oh, it's the best. I always say, Colt, my favorite major in April is the Masters, and my favorite major in July is the British Open. People ask me what my favorite major is, and I say, well, it depends on what time of year. Now we get one in November, too. So I'm fired up. It's going to be a different course, as you know, different weather, certainly. Now, what's interesting is the average high temperature in April is about 77. Usually in November, it's 67. But we're going to be in the low 80s, high 70s here. This is going to be a very April-ish weather here this week, although we're going to get some moisture.
Yeah, it looks like there's a chance of rain every single day. I talked to Justin Thomas yesterday. He said it's playing very long. The course, the Oversea didn't quite come in as good as it's normally did. He goes, chipping is going to be very dicey around there. But either way, they got sub-air. They can control things. The Masters, anything can happen at the Masters.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's great insight from JT, and I think we kind of knew that was coming. The golf course was going to be softer. Typically, the Masters overseeds in the September-October neighborhood, and then it goes all the way until April, and that ryegrass really matures, and you get a product that's outstanding, right? So it's only had about a month or so to get to that point, so here we are, and him saying it's a little soft and wispy makes a lot of sense. We always know chipping around the greens at Augusta is going to be go a long way towards winning this thing, so with it being a little bit difficult or a little bit different this year, you're going to probably have to pick out some really good scramblers.
Yeah. Do you change anything, like you go back and look at course history and how guys have performed here, obviously, being that this is the first time that it's in November, does that change it up? Do you, like, underweight maybe recent performances being like, oh, the course will be different this time, or does it stay basically the same?
That's a great question, and I think it's really hard to figure out. I mean, because this is the one major that stays at the same course every year, we have a ton of history and course form and trends, for years and years, so definitely I do look at that type of thing. Now, they're throwing a little bit of a twist into it here, but I still think guys that traditionally play well here are still going to traditionally play well here.
I think it's one of the more wide open Masters, though, because no one has played there in November. Like, guys go play. Sometimes they take their buddies when they've qualified for in April. But, like, this could be wide open because no one knows how it's going to play, and I think it's going to play a lot different than April.
And there's so many guys that are playing well coming into this. I mean, we're going to get into it right now with some of our favorites. Like, Bryson's got more attention than I can remember anyone getting since Tiger. You got JT playing really well. Rahm. DJ's back now after COVID. He just played well his first week back. Like, there seems to be so many guys at the top that are like, it's a top. There's not like one guy. I guess Bryson's the guy that's getting it all, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But there's so many guys that I think are playing well leading up to this.
Yeah, I want to ask Brady. I mean, I've never seen a number one player in the world, Dustin Johnson, get talked about less heading into a major. And here he is. He just finished second in Houston. I mean, the game's obviously in pretty good form after coming off his little 2-week COVID hiatus. But, I mean, here's a guy who's number one in the world. And no one's hardly talking about him because of Bryson DeChambeau.
And his record at Augusta lately is outstanding. I think he's got, I want to say in the last 6 years, he's got 4 top 5s or something like that. I think you mentioned it on our show on ViSN on long shots that Dustin Johnson, and to your point, here's the number 1 player in the world, and he's kind of under the radar.
Yeah.
This is probably a good spot for DJ. At Chirp, he's 12-1. I actually bet him before he went on that tear in August and, became the number 1 player in the world, ascended to that ranking anyway. I got him at 20-1. I'm pretty happy with that
Wow,
number.
very nice. Yeah.
That's really
We saw
nice.
him. We saw him recently down at Grove 23 in Florida. He was getting some work in. I mean, it's just incredible. This guy. I mean, he is a specimen. Like we've talked
He's
about it, seen
different.
him. I
He
mean,
don't look like a golfer. You see him walk by, it's like a giraffe walking. I'm like, God, man, it's a lar. He shakes your hand and it just swallows you. Like he's just an absolute unit.
I think you bring up a good point there, and we're used to a golfer looking like a golfer. Dustin Johnson brought the athlete to the sport, it seems like. He looks like a wide receiver, right? I mean, and yeah, he is absolutely a specimen, and that's kind of carried over. Now Brooks is into the workout routine. Bryson's into the workout routine. Obviously, Tiger, is pumping a lot of iron, but Dustin Johnson truly looks like an athlete, not necessarily the traditional golfer.
And he's got to love where he's at, just being there like, here I am, number 1 in the world, just came back from COVID, got second. By the way, I won the FedEx Cup here recently, was the hottest player in the world. I feel like nobody bringing DJ up in terms of like, that's the guy I like at Augusta. I think that's perfect.
I mean, with
for a
it
guy
playing
like him.
so long, I mean, obviously Bryson's getting all the hype because of how far he's hitting it. Dustin told us he just reached 193 ball speed.
Wow.
He got his career high when he was down at Grove. I mean, the guy can absolutely send it. He's unbelievable. Like you said, he doesn't look like a golfer. Just another reason I quit, by the way.
Yeah.
We're not quite built the
helps.
same. This is what golfers used to look like.
Slightly different. It's the same but different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very encouraging for my bet, though, and I have a bet on Matsuyama, too. Matsuyama at Chirp is 35-1, and I got him at 40. I think you can even find higher in some spots right now, but it was very encouraging to see Matsuyama and DJ right there at the top of the leaderboard in Houston. Says they're coming in good form.
Yeah, Matsuyama, who's made some changes to his putting lately, really starting
That's
to roll
the
it well.
one
Had a
question
final
mark.
round 63 in Houston. Had a good chance at 62 to force a playoff with, well, it wouldn't end up forcing a playoff. Carlos Ortiz ended up making birdie. But, yeah, Hideki, I mean, just stripes it. And Augusta's a place I feel like sets up super well for Hideki.
He always seems to putt well on fast greens like that, those fast bent grass greens. And I think there's a lot of correlation with Jack Nicklaus's course at Muirfield Village for the Memorial.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, Hideki's won that. So I think there is some crossover looking at guys that have done well at the Memorial that have also played well at Augusta. And you'll see a lot of connection there. So, again, that gives me a little bit of an angle on Hideki as well.
Let's get a
In
little
terms
bit.
of the other fairway, I want to bro. What's Bryson going off at Chirp? 8.5? Is that what it was?
I didn't see him on Chirp. I know
He's
around
an
town
odds-on
here
favorite.
he's in the neighborhood of
very
8
high.
to 10.
Do you think,
Yeah.
Is there value there? I mean, he's getting all the attention. We had Jordan Spieth on recently. He basically said it's Bryson's to lose at this point. Do you think there's value being that his odds are so light? Is that something you want to look at and take a shot at?
I don't. Single-digit odds, I don't think are a great value that often. Now, back in the day, Colt, you remember Tiger Woods was even money to
Yeah,
win
it was
these
like
things,
Tiger in
right?
the field.
And he would win. No, I don't think 8 or 9 or 10-1 is great value. I'd probably, if you look at the guys that have won the Masters the last 10 years. It's not a lot of long shots. Charles Schwartzel was the first triple-digit long shot in a long time. He was at 100-1. And mind you, the guy was still ranked 30th in the world. You know, people just weren't really familiar with him just yet. I believe there were Danny Willett was 50-1. Other than that, guys are anywhere from 15 to 30-1. So I think that's the neighborhood you want to look at. A number 1 player in the world has not won in the last 10 years. The defending champion has not won in the last 10 years. So it's probably going to be someone, I would guess, in that 25-1 range that's probably going to put on the green jacket on Sunday.
Yeah, if you go back to when the official World Golf Rankings was started, the average ranking of the winner in the Masters is right around 15.1, 15.2. So obviously not many flukes
Right.
win it. But let's talk about the defending champion, Tiger Woods, who comes in with zero form,
Right.
has hardly played all year. Obviously he plays great at Augusta. He's got 5 green jackets. Do you expect anything from Tiger this week?
I really don't. And I didn't really expect anything from him last year, but then I was kicking myself going, the guy knows the course better than anybody in the world, anybody in the field. Why didn't I take a shot with him? But this year it's different. I think since the restart, the highest finish he's had is 37th. He finished dead last at Riviera. He just hasn't had a lot of reps. And when we've seen him, get into action and try and get some tournament reps, it just hasn't come out that well. obviously Father Time is catching up to the guy, and you talked about it, Drew. There are so many people in the field. This is different when Tiger used to be competing against Ernie Els, Vijay Singh, and Sergio Garcia and Phil Mickelson. Now he's competing against 30 guys that can beat him out here this week.
30 guys in their primes, too.
Absolutely.
It's just a different beast. He's a guy that I know we all want to see play well. There's nothing really leading up to it that indicates that he is going to, but Tiger aside, anyone else up top, maybe top 10 or 15 guys that you're looking at as like a fade opportunity when the matchups come out, or somebody that you think might underperform where they're priced at?
It's easy to say Rory because he hasn't been in great form, since the restart. It's been a while since he's won a major. He kind of has some demons about Augusta, trying to complete that career Grand Slam, but I don't necessarily want to go against the guy. I mean, he's still Rory McIlroy. Phil, I think, is a guy that is a fade.
Yeah.
I mean, Phil and Tiger, it's easy to say. It wouldn't surprise any of us if they finish top 20 or better. But I think from a betting standpoint, those are probably a couple of guys I'd go against.
Yeah, Phil's a tricky one. What's he going to show up with? How much tinker is he doing? That long driver? There's so many question marks, and it's been a while since we've seen Phil, not counting the Champions Tour, do anything on the PGA Tour. We're like, yeah.
Who's a guy, get your opinion on this one. I think a guy that I would be willing to fade that is, a shorter odds guy is Colin Morikawa. Obviously, he was incredibly impressive at the PGA Championship. Maybe it would have been different if there were fans there yelling in his ear, and, he was able to be calm on a course he was very familiar with. Then we saw him miss the cut at the U.S. Open. It was a tough road for him after winning his first major as such a young kid, and the hype of going into his next major, it just didn't work out well. I also think he is more of a U.S. Open PGA Championship type player than he is a Masters player, so I wouldn't be surprised if Colin Morikawa struggled here in his first.
You say that because of the greens at Augusta and how tough it is to putter on there, and you view Colin as like a fairway green 2-putt.
Exactly. He, putting can be his Achilles heel, even though he putted so well at Harding Park. Putting has been his nemesis, and it's gonna, and it's a different putting for him. He's never really seen anything like this before, so he would be one of the shorter price guys I might go against.
Yeah, here's a guy. I mean, he comes out, has an unbelievable PGA Championship, wins by 3 shots. And everybody's anointing him the next big thing.
Right.
Obviously, he's going to win 10 majors. I'm like, you guys don't realize how hard it is to win on the PGA. Like, you know what? He won a major. That might be his only one of his career. And that's not saying he's going to play poorly. It's just everyone is so good nowadays. It's so hard to win out there.
Give him some credit, though. I go back to my correlation with Muirfield Village. He did win the Workday Championship in a playoff over Justin Thomas. So maybe he knows these greens types and surfaces better than I thought.
Before we get back to this week's special Golf Subpar, this week's episode is brought to you by Bushnell, the #1 rangefinder in golf. They've got the brand new Tour V5 Shift. Sleaze, I've used this thing. It's unbelievable. You cannot miss the flag. Gives you slope if you want to have a little slope. Tell you how far you are. I know I personally do because I'm so dialed in. I got to have the exact yardage.
I want it down to the decimal, dude. I don't need 130 if it's 130.5. That's how precise you and I are with our wedges. But this is the only thing I've ever used playing golf. Like you mentioned, the slope is great. Over 99% of the tour pros are using this thing. It's the only way to get your distance out there.
It's so accurate. It's within 1 yard every time. It's got the jolt technology. Lets you vibrate when you know you hit the pin, so you definitely know you're not hitting a cactus or anything way back there in the distance. It's trusted by more tour players than anybody. It's fantastic. I highly recommend you go get it, and you can save $25 when you spend $100 at bushnellgolf.com by using code SUBPAR25 during checkout. I promise you, you're going to like it. Bushnell is trusted by 99% of tour players. I'm not sure what that other 1% is doing, but trust Bushnell to add an edge to your game. Once again, go to bushnellgolf.com and type in code SUBPAR25 during checkout. And let's get back to this very special edition of Golf Subpar. Well, I want to talk a little bit about Justin Thomas because he's my favorite to win. He's going off at 12-1 on Chirp. We played with him recently at the Grove. I mean, the kid has just got so much game. It is unbelievable. We played with him. It was going 25 miles an hour.
It's impressive.
He's my partner. I rode him to victory, just to let you know. But we get done.
Confidence is high.
We get done, and Sleaze is like, what did Justin shoot? And I go, 64. He goes, are you kidding me? Like, it just looks so easy.
Yeah.
And he does it all. Like, I mean, being able to control your ball in the wind is something I think a lot of guys don't really know how to do. This kid's got it all.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I always say about Justin Thomas, I mean, you look at the top 4 players in the world, Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas. Those guys, I think, can win anywhere, any week, anytime.
Yep.
And take your pick. I'm on Jon Rahm this week, and I'm on DJ. I'm not on Rory and JT, but I could be dead wrong, and I wouldn't mind having the other two.
Well, here's the deal about JT, though. We had his caddy, Jimmy Johnson, on our SiriusXM show, and if you look at JT's stats, he's played 4 Masters, and every year he's gotten better.
Yep.
He finished 12th last year, but he keeps just climbing that board. I think he gets more and more comfortable around there.
I think that's a great piece of information to look at, progressively getting better year after year. And I'll tell you, the other guy who has that trend going the same way is Brooks Koepka. Finished second last year. I think in his first Masters he was around 30th, then maybe 22nd, then maybe a top 15, and then second last year. I know Brooks has had some injury issues, but it wouldn't surprise any of us if he showed up either, right?
And he's coming off an incredible weekend in Houston too.
Yep.
Things started to click on the weekend as he tightened up. I got John Rahm. He's another guy I liked. I picked him when it was back in April. I'm going to try to stick with that. He's only going at 9-1, which I don't know if there's a ton of value there betting wise, but I also love a guy we seem to talk about all the time on radio and on this podcast, Xander. I think he's very similar. Like,
he doesn't get talked about.
Second shot golf course, right? Who's better? I mean, he's about as good as you're going to get from tee to green. Hits it long. Iron play is great. Similar to Justin Thomas, similar to Rahm. That's why I like these second shot guys out there. And another guy, like Colt just said, no love going in. It seems like, I feel like we say it every single time. And then he's somewhere on Sunday. He's at or near
he
the
tied for
top
second
of the
last
leaderboard.
year.
Absolutely.
I think he's got 6 top 5s
Second
in
last
majors in
year.
his short career. I mean, he shows up in the big time events.
And he's
He
14 to
absolutely
1.
does. And he gets love in the majors because people are aware of exactly what you said, the top 5 finishes or top 10 finishes, whatever it is, in a very young career, finishing second last year. One thing going against him a little bit, and you know this, Colt, Augusta National takes a lot of experience. You know, if you go back in history, typically guys had to get 6 rounds, play 6 Masters before they got their green jacket. So it takes a lot of getting used to knowing this course, and also the pressure coming down the back 9 on Sunday. Now, in the last 10 years, with the influx of these young guns and how the talent window has expanded so much, the last 10 winners have an average of 3 tries before they get the champion at the Masters. Now, Xander's only been here twice, so it'll be his 3rd time. So does he have enough reps at this golf course is probably the one knock I would make against him.
Yeah,
God, I just love
been in
him
the
so
hunt
much.
so many
He's
times,
so-
and maybe no fans changes it a little. I don't know. Those are
You're
some
right,
guys
you're
we
right.
love in terms of like favorites. Let's go a little deeper. Let's go to some long shots, maybe 30 to 1.
Let's talk about one guy before we get into that.
Okay.
Jordan Spieth, who has 0 form coming in. Just been playing awful, but when he goes down Magnolia Lane, he's just a different beast. I mean, we saw he went second in his first 3 Masters. The guy just loves the place. No one puts those greens better. Is he worth taking a shot on, even though with no form coming in?
I think he really is. Here at Circa Sports, I'm not sure what he is at Chirp, but here at Circa, we just noticed this morning, he's at 81 to 1. That's a hell of a price on Jordan Spieth, right?
I'm a guy that never plays bad there, really.
I totally agree, and I really root for the guy. I would love to see him get back into that company of the DJs and the Roms and the Webb Simpsons and everything. It's too bad that he's fallen off a little bit the last couple years. But, Colt, I think this might be a guy that you look at where maybe the change to November does change for Jordan because he's so good in the April version, right? Maybe it's a little bit different for him this time of year.
Man, I hope he plays well.
God, I think everyone's rooting for him. There's a bunch of guys a lot of people are rooting for. We haven't seen it yet, but like you said, he gets at Augusta. He's a different beast. Let's go to one long shot that I think we're all kind of aligned on right now. Jason Day going off at 50 to 1. That's got to seem like a pretty good value. He's just a question mark in terms of health, but when he shows up healthy and is engaged, I feel like he checks all the boxes you'd want for Augusta National.
I think he's maybe missed one cut here. I think other than the missed cut, I think he's always finished top 20. I mean, he has an incredible record here. Never won the thing, but he always plays well. And you guys know about his high ball flight. You love that for Jason Day on these greens. I had him in Houston last week, had him one shot out of the lead and heading into Sunday, and then he didn't have a good round on Sunday, which kind of surprised me because he was, again, you go to that progressively trend, of improving each day, which he was kind of doing at Houston, and then it just kind of fell apart a little bit on Sunday. But I would not be surprised. I mean, he might be a great top 20 bet, right?
Yeah.
Because he always does it every year. I don't know if I want to bet him to win, but I think top 20 is probably a good play on
I like
Jason
his putting
Day.
around
I
that
believe
so
that's what I was
much.
going to say. I think in the last 5 years, he's number 1 in strokes gained putting around the Masters.
mean-
Like, no one puts it better. But always the question mark is he going to stub his toe?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Is he going to have a cold? Like, you never know what's going to happen with Jason Day. He's not scared to withdraw. We saw here at Shadow Creek. He's in the next last group. Hurts his neck, withdraws on the second hole Sunday.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the risk with Jason Day, and I think that's the case with the Masters. I don't know if he's ever missed a cut. I think he's withdrawn once.
Yeah, okay.
I was just reading about it last night. And so there's always that risk with Jason Day, and it's tough when you're wagering on a guy that might, pull out after 5 holes. But I think it's worth the risk. He certainly doesn't want to withdraw from a major championship, and he seems to be in good form. We saw him have 4 straight top 7 finishes or better in the restart, and then he kind of fell off at the Northern Trust and in the FedEx Cup Playoffs. playoffs. But I liked him this week at Houston. He was at 45-1, and he was twice the price of a guy like Russell Henley, right? And I was like, Jason Day at 45. I said, that looks pretty juicy. And sure enough, he showed up. So that gives me confidence that he is in good form coming in.
Yeah, I'll give you one other guy I like as a long shot. I mean, it's a big long shot, but he's a guest of Golf Subpar, so I got to give him a little love.
Tap that.
He's going off at 70-1. Abe Answer, who I think is arguably one of the top 5 iron players on the PGA Tour in Augusta National, second shot golf course. We played when Matthew Wolff was talking about they're going to be teaming up at the Shark Shootout later this year. He's like, dude, I can't wait to play with Abe. The guy has no weaknesses. He hits every fairway, hits every green, and he putts it good.
He's just so steady,
Yep.
right? He never seems to have a blow-up round where he really plays poorly. He doesn't always win, but he is always right there. I think the only thing going against him is it's his first time, right?
I agree.
And we haven't had a debutante winner at the Masters since, the 1800s or something like that?
Fuzzy Zeller, I believe, was the last.
1979.
Yeah.
It just seems like forever, and people always bring that up. Not since Fuzzy, but it's exactly right. And that goes to my point that it takes experience to win there, and so rarely do we see a first timer. And that's the only thing really going against Abe Answer, I believe.
That kind of checks the same thing I got for one of my long shots. He's going off at 33-1. Matthew Wolff, a guy we just mentioned who we also got to play with down there. If you look at a length, I mean, we just saw him go toe-to-toe with Bryson at Winged Foot. He was out driving Bryson most of the time. Got his first taste of sleeping on a major. That obviously plays big dividends, but he's top 5 in his last 2. I know he's never played there, but like,
first off, he's only played 2 majors,
it's
and he's
soft,
finished 4th
it's
and
long,
2nd.
Not too
all
shabby,
that
right?
stuff. I mean, he can hit it pretty damn close to these places.
I
They're
just
talking
feel like
about Bryson hitting it.
His variance is so wide.
Yeah, he's
like,
a feast
his
or
good
famine.
is incredible.
Yeah.
His bad is he can't beat us.
I think you
You can
nailed
beat
it.
me.
I think you're exactly right. But I'll tell you what, and we talk about some of the prop bets on Chirp, right? If you can find who will be the lowest or who is the highest finishing debutante, Matthew Wolff, I think, would be a good bet.
Yeah, I like that.
First timer, the best first timer this year in the Masters. I'd take a hard look at Matthew Wolff.
Yeah,
I got one more guy, and I want to know your thoughts on this because he's been playing well recently. He's won here multiple times. Bubba Watson coming in here. I mean, the place is designed for him. You just slam that monster cut around every single bend. It sets up perfect. He plays well there. He's going off pretty long. I think you mentioned you saw him somewhere at 42-1 even. I got him at 36-1 here. Is he a guy worth like in that long shot category?
Yeah, I've got him at 28-1 on Chirp. He is typically around 35-1 here in town, and here at Circa 42-1. I absolutely love Bubba. I bet him before the tournament in April, and then one of the books here in town did not refund my bet. Notice most of the books here in Las Vegas refunded the bet when they rescheduled the Masters, okay, and your bet didn't count. But my Bubba Watson bet remained live, so I've got him at 45-1. Wow. Pretty nice number. He's been in absolutely fantastic form. Had a top 10 at Shadow Creek, had a top 10, top 5, I believe, at Sherwood, and you guys know this, Sherwood and Shadow Creek. Sherwood has the ties to Muirfield Village because of obviously they're both Nicklaus courses. A lot of people, including Ricky Fowler and Rory McIlroy, thought Shadow reminded them of Augusta. So if you're performing well on those 2 courses, maybe that translate over into the Masters.
Yeah, I love him around there.
I feel like he's a guy that's not, I don't want to say the most predictable, but he has places that he loves. And he tends,
yeah.
like Riviera, he loves. TBC River Highlands, he loves. He seems to play well at the same spots. Obviously, Augusta falls into that too.
When he's in a good mood, he plays well.
Exactly. And when he's happy and like kind of into it, I feel like
he's got to be pretty happy with his current form right now.
I agree.
Not,
well, let's get in some of these prop bets here on Chirp. Obviously, there's a lot of fun ones out there. You're going to win some great prizes, but Chirp's got some cool ones that I really like. One of my favorites, the man who everyone's talking about, Bryson DeChambeau. Will he hit a drive over 400 yards around Augusta National? We've heard he played with Sandy Lyle recently, and some of the irons he hit into some of these holes out there were ridiculous, but we're expecting a lot of rain. Obviously, they mow the grass back into the players, not a lot of roll. Over 400 yards, to not hit it over 400 yards is plus 100, so even money. I love that. I don't think he can get it to 400 yards with no roll.
Well, prop bets in general, and this is true for the Super Bowl as well, the general public or the recreational bettor usually wants to bet on the yes. They want to see things happen. But typically the right side is the no. So I'm with you. Because everybody's going to think Bryson, of course he's going to hit it 400 yards, right?
I just saw him,
I'd be with you on the no.
That seems like a tough task. I mean, how many holes can you even pick? With very little roll, 10, maybe 10 downwind if he tried to hit a driver and you can get some bounce there. But like otherwise, like you said, mowing it into the players, dude, there's not a lot of places where you're going to get 30 yards. Even if you can get it 370 in the air, you still need 30 on the ground. That's a tough
Brady,
ask.
You got any other Chirp bets you like?
Yeah, I like a couple here. These are from the prop market. The winner's score on the 72nd hole, birdie or better, is 5-1. I like par at -200. I think the winner of this year's Masters will make a par on the 72nd hole, and I'm willing to lay -200. Bet 200 to win 100.
Yeah,
I like that better than birdie or better.
See, I'm way more impatient than you. I don't want to wait till the 72nd hole to see if I win a bet.
Right. Give me something on the first day. Well, there is one on the first day. Will Tiger Woods hit the first
I
fairway?
love that he's back.
That's a good one right there. And what were the prices on that?
I haven't missed the first fairway.
missed the
Plus
first
150.
fairway.
He's known for hitting that hook off the first hole at Augusta. Not a good track record off the first hole. Plus 150 to miss it. I kind of like it. And you get, first off, you get a little profit early right out of the gate, and then you start playing with it.
Here's one for you guys. I kind of like this one. Will a top 10 player, I'm assuming this is the OWGR, will a top 10 player in the world hit one into Rays Creek over the course of the 4 days? I'm going to say yes at plus 300. I mean, why isn't one of those guys going for it in 2 on 13 going to hit one into the creek?
Yeah, you got 12 with the wind swirling.
History's on your side there, I would have to think. And then I think that with being in November, what kind of wind are we going to see? April, it swirls around and guys can't pull clubs on that hole, and it's a disaster. You see it all the time. If we get some swirly winds, though, yeah, I think that's a pretty good bet. I think history's on your side, like I said. All right,
we only got a few minutes left, but let's wrap it up. Based off the Chirp odds, who's your winner of the 2020 Masters?
I'm going to go with Jon Rahm. On Chirp, he's at 9-1. I actually have him in pocket at 15-1. These are the bets I have. I have Rahm, DJ. I added Patrick Cantlay after his win at the Zozo. I've got Bubba, Hideki, Adam Scott, and my biggest long shot is a debutant, Scotty Scheffler, at Chirp at 66-1. I got him at 80-1. But those are my 7 guys in pocket, and I'll go with Rahm. I think, and it's hard to ignore any of these guys, DJ, Cantlay, but Jon Rahm, again, a winner at Memorial earlier this year. That course crosses over into Augusta. His game is so well-rounded. He does everything well, and he also has been getting progressively better in each visit to Augusta since he started playing there, and we'll see what he does. He's my guy.
Yeah,
all right, Brady Kannon of ViSN's going Jon Rahm. Sleeves, who we got?
Well, I'm going to follow him with. I got 2 favorites. I like Rahm and
follow
Xander.
the expert.
Well,
Weird.
of course. Why would I not? I'm going to tell. By the way, I'm going to bet every single one of these that he just told me. But I'll go with aside from Rahm, I'll go with Xander 14-1. I just think the two's just been knocking on the door so long. Like eventually, that thing's going to open up.
Well,
14-1.
I'm going with my guy Justin Thomas. I loved what I saw last weekend. He's trending at Augusta, getting better. He's 12-1 on Chirp. I look for him to have the green jacket at the end of the week. But Brady, we can't thank you enough for taking this time. Your insight is incredible. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Las Vegas Golfer, and then hear the shows on ViSN. That's VSIN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network, Sirius XM Channel 204.
Awesome. Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. Everybody, download Chirp, go get amongst it, and enjoy the 2020 Masters.